Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on how to connect with your audience. When we're speaking, when we're training, when we're facilitating, our ability to educate, to move people to a different way of thinking, to creating a change process, to be influential, to persuade people to move their mindset, a big part of being able to do that when we're speaking or presenting or training, a big part is the ability to connect with your audience. Failure to connect, then you will probably not have the impact that you hoped to have. So welcome to the webinar. We're going to go fairly quick, 30 minutes. Put questions into the Q&A box as we go, and you can always email me afterwards. Ask questions as we go, take notes. I'm going to record this video, this webinar, make it available should you wish to review anything. Participate via your questions and your comments. And think for your own personal circumstances, what might you apply? What are you going to do differently to your own presentation style, your own workshop style, the next time you find yourself before a group of people? What are you going to do to elevate that level of connection, which will once again elevate your ability to be influential, to be persuasive, to create a change environment? So why build connection? Connection's how we build rapport. Connection's how we build trust. It also makes us relatable to our audience. When we can relate to the audience or the audience can relate to us, there's that synergy with messages. It helps us create credibility. It helps us with that credibility, the license to ask you to follow me, the license to ask you to change on the basis of the trust, the credibility, the connection we've created. Helps me to demonstrate reliability. And also when I connect, you give me permission to take you on a journey, or you give me permission to sell you my ideas, my information. One of the mistakes that people do is they go on stage and there's no connection, and then they teach the audience how to suck eggs, how to do this. But hang on, Peter, just take a step back. You haven't taken the time to connect. And even when I run online seminars, it's the connection that matters up front. So my connection point that I'll weave in throughout is that as a person who stutters, I have struggled with public speaking, and I believe in helping everyone overcome their fear, deal with nerves, be more confident and effective when they get before an audience, virtually or face-to-face. That's why we need to build connection. A big part of the connection is the trust, and there's that saying within marketing, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And our public speaking, our workshops, our presentations, our speaking up at a meeting is in fact selling an idea, selling information, selling our perspective. So it is marketing. So my view is people will listen to people they know, like, and trust. That's why we need to build trust and connect. Otherwise, as I mentioned, people may not buy your idea, may not accept your position. So how to build trust? Know what you're talking about. Don't make stuff up. Be well researched. Develop what I call your credibility stack. Be well published or well communicated on LinkedIn in your area of expertise, or your medical journals, or your nursing journals, or your community forums. Do what you say you're going to do. That means walk the talk. So this is about being consistent with what you say to do. The common classic is that I use is a time management guru, maybe running a time management workshop, maybe speaking at a conference on the importance of time management, simple strategies to be on time, maybe talking about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is one of the time management manuals, Bibles, and going overtime, starting late, finishing late, going into the next speaker's time at a conference. So that's a time management guru who doesn't do what they say that you should do, and they lose a little bit of trust. Have some credentials and experience. And this is not about big noting yourself. And in Australia, we often undersell ourselves, but to help build trust, and part of my journey as a person who stutters gives me the credentials, the credibility to say, hey, I can help you overcome your fear of public speaking. Reveal your vulnerability. Wherever you were, your expertise, your skills didn't come, you weren't born with that innate ability to be an expert in this area, to be a world leader in this area. You've done some journeys, and along those journeys would have been vulnerability, would have been muck-ups, would have been mistakes. And I share my struggle as a person who stutters. And you've got the before and the after. This is Peter growing up as a young adult. This is Peter now as a public speaking trainer, as a conference speaker. That helps build both my credibility, the trust, and the connection with my audience. Do you build trust with your audience when you're speaking? How do you connect and build rapport so that people will buy your message? A key to connecting is do your preparation. And they say that public speaking is a little bit like an iceberg. What you're seeing in this 30 minutes of me is the tip of the iceberg. It's my presentation. What you're not seeing is the preparation of the PowerPoint slides, the research of my content, the working with my PA to put this webinar, this seminar together, the promoting it, the marketing it. So really, you're only seeing 20% of the effort, as should be your presentation or your workshop. So the way you connect with your audience, the way you build rapport, a lot of it comes from below the water and the preparation you do before you go on stage. So how do we do some preparation? I've got a few things that I like to do. Know your audience. Know your audience. Who's going to be in the room? What do they want from you? What's their pain point? What's their issues? What's their problem? What's keeping them awake at night? All of that will help you prepare and connect. Do a cultural awareness, cultural audit. And along with this, underneath is values and beliefs. So who's in the room? Any cultural nuances that you need to do. Acknowledge the traditional landowners. I made the mistake once early on in my speaking career. So about 10 years ago, I got given the opportunity to meet the manager of the Greens political party, federal, here in WA. And they were putting forward a lot of candidates, and they thought that some coaching around public speaking and being more influential and effective would be valuable for politicians. And you've seen those politicians that are good when they speak and those that are not so good. And so one of the mistakes that I made when the manager asked me, so who do you work with at the moment? And of course, at the time, I was really happy and thrilled to be working on Barrow Island, an A-class reserve with Chevron oil and gas. And this is not aligned with the values of the Greens Party. Mining oil and gas on an A-class reserve with some unique species found nowhere else in Australia than on Barrow Island. And I'm putting them forward as someone I work with joy and with happiness. And needless to say, I didn't get the job, and it was a fairly short, informal interview. It was just an informal chat. I didn't take a time to do a values audit. I used the right language, the right jargon. I've seen speakers connect and tell stories that connect them with the audience straight away. One person who I know was speaking at a mining conference, and it was about leadership, but no experience whatsoever in the mining sector. So when you come on stage as a leadership expert and you want to tell miners and engineers how to suck eggs, how to be leaders, and you've got no experience in their industry, it's pretty hard to connect. And so this person was able to share their experience of growing up in Kalgoorlie and their father being a miner, and how they were surrounded by the mining ethos and the mining sector growing up in Kalgoorlie, then moved to Perth to be educated. And so that telling a couple of mining stories as a child, as a kid growing up, just built that connection and kind of then gave him permission to use some language and jargon that would work with the mining sector and the leadership sector. So yeah, jargon is an important thing, and it's part of your preparation. So understanding the language that your audience uses. I'm going up north next week, and I'll be speaking a lot with the mining sector. And so the language that I use for BHP Rio Tinto, and as a previous health professional, a medical scientist, I work a lot with doctors, nurses, health professionals. So the language I use with the mining sector is different to the language I use with the health sector. I've also done work with financial planners and the superannuation sector. So I need to use different language when I'm working with that sector. And taking the time to prepare and use a bit of jargon, language that relates to the audience, helps you connect. Helps you connect. I mentioned part of your preparation was, be culturally aware. So one of the things we can do is we can pay our audience a cultural compliment. And a cultural compliment is just lets them know that we know a little bit about who's in the room and their unique sort of culture. So when I go to Karratha, I will acknowledge the Injibati and the Nullama people, the local landowners, and I'll pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. When I go 2 days later to Port Hedland and run my workshops again, I will acknowledge the traditional landowners, the Gariari people of the Port Hedland region, and once again pay my respects. In Perth, when I run face-to-face workshops, I acknowledge the Noongar people, specifically in Perth, the Whadjuk people. And so this is just one way of paying the audience a cultural awareness. The way you exchange business cards, is it the one hand or is it the two hand? If someone gives you a business card with two hands, they're probably from Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, India, our Southeast Asian neighbours, and that's culturally appropriate to receive the credit card, to receive the business card the same way. If someone hands you a business card like that and you reach out with one hand and take it, that may be seen as disrespectful. A really good example of connecting with the audience. Remember, this is connection with the audience. I was at the Melbourne Comedy Festival a few years back, and an English comedian, a British comedian, his name was Mark Watson. And he spent the first 5 to 10 minutes of his comedy show, and his show was on identity theft. Very funny, very clever man. He spent the first 10 to 15 minutes talking about AFL football, knowledgeably, about who was in trouble in the media, who was likely to win, top the season, who were the competitors, who were going to be the wooden spooners, in a very funny and informed way. So this is a Londoner who's come to Melbourne in March for the comedy festival. It's the start of the AFL season. He speaks to a crowd of Victorians about Aussie rules footy like a pro, and he just had the audience in the palm of his hand through his connection, through his understanding, through his cultural complement to Aussie rules football. He connected with the audience, and when he moved on to his comedy routine, everyone loved him. Very clever. What can you do to let your audience know that you're aware of their cultural nuances? How can you pay them a cultural compliment? And if it's not a cultural compliment, how about a values compliment? With the Greens, I certainly did not pay them their values. I did not pay them a compliment. I disrespected them by talking about Chevron and oil and gas. Here's some other simple tools to help you connect. Use a conversational style. So it's just a little bit of almost like you'd have a chat one-on-one. One of the things I tell people with public speaking who worry, when I stand up and speak, I freeze and what if I'm not good enough and I can't do it? And I ask them, so how do you go one-on-one, chatting to someone over a desk at work, over a cup of coffee? Oh, I'm fine there. Well, really, when you speak to a group of 50 people or 100 people, or even a webinar or an online seminar, people still want to be spoken to like you're having a cup of coffee. In fact, I'll take a sip of my cup of tea. It's this conversational style that helps you connect and build rapport, as opposed to, just one moment, please. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Dew, and I'm going to deepen my voice and use some very eloquent and fancy words that may impress you or may not impress you as I articulate the Queen's English at a far higher level. Yeah, that's no, you don't have to do that perfect, polished voice. If you do have a radio quality voice, well, good luck to you. I certainly don't. And the thing that people want from their speaker, their trainer, their facilitator is that conversation. Tell stories. I've told a little about storytelling, your journeys, your struggles. Storytelling really builds rapport. It makes you real. Assume that they know more than you. If you connect, part of paying a respect, pay them a respect to their knowledge and their experience. And I also like to be humble in that I assume that the room, the collective wisdom of the room, knows more than me in whatever I'm talking on. And so there's no silly questions, and treat each question with respect, even if you may have covered it early on in your presentation. Assume the audience knows more than you, and be a little bit inquisitive and curious. Inclusive language, so how can we, so together, what I want us all to achieve, how are you going to take this information from today's webinar? You've invested your half an hour. How are you going to connect with your audience so that you can have a better impact, so that you can create the change you want in your communities? It's about you. I want to be inclusive. Less about me, more about you, more about your audience. Inclusive gestures and body languages. So I'm trying to gesture a little bit, so come on a journey with me. We can make a difference together. How would you feel about that? Me personally, I struggled with public speaking for a long time. So inclusive gestures, as opposed to hard, fixed gestures. Avoid pointing. What are you going to do about this? I think you, please, audiences around the world, female audiences especially, are tired of men standing up and pointing. Some simple tools: conversational, tell your stories, assume, be humble, assume they know more than you, be inclusive in your language and in your gestures. Be authentic, be genuine. I just like to be me, to be real. In fact, this is a little bit of a paradigm shift. When you stop trying to be the guru, when you stop trying to be perfect, when you just accept who you are, bald head, big nose, pimples, warts, imperfections, whatever, maybe your face goes red, that's just who you are. This is just who I am. And make peace with that. When you do that paradigm shift, public speaking becomes so much easier, by the way, and people want to see your authentic, genuine self. And Orson Welles said, be yourself, everyone else is taken. So that authenticity helps you connect with the audience, and who you are on stage. So who I am now on this webinar, on this seminar, and you meet me down the street, needs to be who I am off stage. Yep. The speaker who delivers a really polished performance and then they have a cup of tea and then they're not who they say they are. The person on empathy and listening who tells all the things you need to do on stage, and then off stage someone says, hey, look, can I speak to you for a moment? And they say, look, sorry, I don't have time for this. What they've spoken about and what they're talking about and what they're in real life is not consistent, and that's about your authenticity, and that's about also walking the talk. Little model to help you bring the right attitude. Have conviction in your message. I believe that what you've got to say is important and your audiences and your communities need to hear it. When I tell people, I believe you can be a great public speaker, I believe that message myself. My attitude is, right now, there's no place I'd rather be. I'm really happy to be here today. I've woke up excited. I'm doing a webinar today. Tomorrow I'm doing a workshop with mines and petroleum. I'm excited about that. I'm going to be prepping all afternoon. I'm going to wake up energized. I'm going to get there early. That's the attitude. Responsibility in the mining sector, health and safety. Someone gets your message, someone changes their behavior, you've changed their life. You've saved a life. Mental health, nursing, well-being, lifestyle. You get your message across, Someone changes their attitudes, changes their habits. You've helped someone move to a better place in their life. You may have saved someone's life. So with this presentation today, I don't take it lightly. When you get before your next audience, please don't take it lightly. You have a responsibility. And the energy, I need to come energized. I need to be the most energized person in the world. If I want to connect with you and I come across, morning everyone, I'm excited to be here. Oh, nearly finished. I'm excited to be here today. I'm not going to get the right level of energy and I'm not going to connect or build rapport. You're going to think he doesn't want to be here. And then I can come on stage bouncing, pumping my fists in the air, singing hallelujah, kumbaya, and I'm going to lose you because I've come on too high. So the energy level for connecting with your audience is be the most energized person in the world. What is the energy level of the room? And you come on a smidgen above, just a smidgen. And then you can build the energy during the day, during the seminar, and build the audience with you. But if the energy levels here don't come up jumping up and down, you'll lose them. If the energy levels here don't come in flat, you'll drag the audience down. So that's communicate with care. Conviction, attitude, responsibility, and the right energy level for that particular room. Keep the connection going. Keep the connection going beyond, deliver what you promised. This webinar is being recorded. Should you want a copy, let me know. If you have any further questions, send me an email. I've got a free ebook. I do, but I'm not offering it to you. If you're offering a free ebook, deliver what you promised. Remain behind after the seminar. Make yourself available. Follow up as promised. Ask for feedback. I would love any feedback from this webinar that you think would help improve it. Add value. This is free stuff. This is handouts. This is tip sheets. Free coaching. Some rapport busters, acting like the guru, the expert. I am the #1 public speaking trainer coach in Australia. How dare you challenge me? How dare you not think that I'm right? The wrong language or the wrong message, a miscommunication. Nursing language with the mining sector. Overuse of acronyms. Bad jokes. I am an accidental comedian, so when people laugh at me, it is because I'm unintentionally funny. I've tried to be funny. My scripted jokes don't work, so I just try and be spontaneous, authentic and genuine, I think is what we called it. And inflated ego. They're connection and rapport destroyers. So summing up, we know why build rapport, why to connect. It's how we get our message across. It's building trust. People buy from people they know, like and trust. Preparation is key. There's a few simple tools I mentioned: conversational, storytelling, don't use jargon, cultural complement. Keep the connection going beyond and avoid those rapport busters. Coming towards the end, I love doing webinars. I do 2 per month for you to learn, to keep your learning going. So coming up, one more in September, 7 strategies to prime your audience, so to get your audience ready for the message, and that will indeed help with your connection. 6 non-verbal habits to avoid. We've seen the flapping in the air, those gestures that don't mean anything. So just be aware. 6 non-verbal habits to avoid as a speaker, and 6 ways to end your presentation to nail your ending. Workshops coming up: Pilbara, Newman, Karratha, Port Hedland, a whole host of workshops in Perth in October, some Bunbury workshops in October. We haven't advertised them. You know that they will be on our website. You know how to reach us, corporatecommunicationexperts.com.au. Got my phone number, you've got my email. I'd love to be of further assistance to you. Now remember, the connection helps you build the trust, helps you connect and build rapport. With the trust, you get that license, you get that permission to challenge norms, to ask people to come on a journey, to educate or put in new learning. Without the connection, you will get resistance, pushback, and maybe non-acceptance of your message. Connection, rapport is how you build trust and how you then move on to be more influential. This is Peter Dew, corporate communications expert. It's been a pleasure helping you connect with your audience.